Hey Vainglorians, this is Gadienton from Broken Myth. In update 1.16 of Vainglory, the spring season has arrived in the Halcyon Fold, and with it, a brand new hero, a fun new game mode, as well as some important balance changes, particularly to items and heroes. So let's dive in. Alpha is a new warrior for Vainglory. Here's the quick overview. She is best suited for the jungle. At level 12, she's one of the tankiest heroes in the game. All three of her abilities do area damage and provide additional mobility, and lastly, like most newer heroes, she has been designed to be built with either weapon power or crystal power, although it does appear that her kit is probably better suited for crystal power. To make most sense of how her abilities work together, we're going to cover them in a somewhat backwards order, starting with her heroic perk, then moving on to her C ability, B ability, and then finally her A ability. Alpha's heroic perk is called Infinite Reboot. Essentially, this acts like a cheat death ability with a 75-second cooldown. When Alpha is reduced to 0 health, she temporarily gains reserve health for 5 seconds. If she has any leftover reserve health at the end of the 5 seconds, she immediately comes back to life with a lot of additional health. However, the trick is that during this time, she is unable to move or use abilities, so she's completely reliant upon the protection of her allies. If she loses all her reserve health, she gets a respawn timer just like everyone else. The cooldown for Alpha's Infinite Reboot is displayed under her health bar in the place where you'd normally find an energy bar, so if you're playing with or against an Alpha, you can look there to tell if her heroic perk is ready to go or if it's on cooldown. Alpha's C ability is Termination Protocol. It is a self-destruct ability that goes hand in hand with her Infinite Reboot. In fact, you can only use Termination Protocol when Infinite Reboot is off cooldown. When Termination Protocol is activated, she gains a large health barrier for 3 seconds, after which she self-destructs, causing massive damage in the area around her and triggering her Infinite Reboot. If her health barrier is destroyed before the 3 seconds is up, however, she explodes immediately. If it looks like Alpha is going to get reduced to 0 health, it will often make sense to activate Termination Protocol. Either way, her Infinite Reboot is going to get triggered, so might as well go down with a blaze of glory. As a final note, during the making of this video, it was discovered that there are some items that can be activated while Alpha is in the middle of her Infinite Reboot. It's possible that this will get corrected before update 1.16 goes live, but if not, here are the items. Boots and Shiver Steel provide no benefit while frozen, so you won't want to waste your cooldown on those. However, you can still give your allies a speed boost with Warhorn, drop scout traps and throw flares, and the best part is that you can still activate Atlas Pauldron to decrease the attack speed of nearby opponents. Alpha's B ability is Core Charge and is the heart of her offensive capabilities. It has a very short cooldown that is reduced by 1 second every time she attacks, so with a little bit of attack speed it's almost spammable. Also, it does additional crystal damage in a small area similar to Kestrel's Glimmer Shot, so if you build Alpha with weapon power, your damage is more focused on a single target, and if you build her with crystal power, you'll enhance the damage of her area of effect, allowing you to do more effective damage against groups of enemies. As you use Core Charge, you can build up to 3 stacks of what is called Core Overload, progressively increasing the damage it does each time it's activated. However, the cost of using this ability is a percentage of your current health. To help offset this, each stack of Core Overload also increases the amount of health you regain through basic attacks. Last but not least, while a short dash on Core Charge is very useful for sticking to enemy heroes, it can also be used to jump walls when you can see the enemy on the other side. This can be useful for both chasing as well as escaping. The final part of Alpha's kit is her A ability, also known as Prime Directive. Prime Directive is pretty versatile as an ability. It has a long-range dash, a slow, and area damage. Even without crystal power, a level 5 Prime Directive with 3 stacks of Core Overload can do 600 damage to a group of opponents. Imagine that with some crystal power to back it. When Alpha rotates to the lane for a gank, Prime Directive's dash and slow can be very dangerous to an opposing laner, so be cautious if you're laning with an Alpha on the other team, and don't underestimate the range on Prime Directive. Not to mention, Infinite Reboot allows Alpha to confidently dive turrets even in the early game. There are a few final notes about Prime Directive that you should be aware of. First, it's a non-targeted skill shot, meaning you don't need to see your target to use it. Second, if you are the one playing Alpha, the actual range of Prime Directive is a tiny bit more than displayed on your screen. In this case, the minion is just outside of range. Third, when overdriven, Prime Directive's range is so long that you can actually dive the Goldmine or a Kraken from the lane. Last, Prime Directive can be very fun to combo with your Termination Protocol. Begin your self-destruct sequence and then launch yourself at an opponent. This could also be a great way to steal the gold miner Kraken. Another big feature of Update 1.16 is a new game mode called Battle Royale. In Battle Royale, the jungle is blocked off and all players have an intense brawl to see who can be the first to push down the opposing vein crystal. Matches typically last around 10 minutes or less, there's no stress about who gets which hero, who plays a carry or a roam, and there's no such thing as insta-locking. This is all about having quick, fun matches, and it's a great way to force yourself to learn new heroes or try out new builds. At the moment, Battle Royale will only be available in private matches. You can have as many players as you'd like on each team, and even have uneven teams, but only up to a max of 3 players on each side. When you start the match, you are instantly assigned a hero and thrown into the hero loading screen. From there, you begin the match at level 4 and with 2,000 gold to spend. Once you leave the spawn platform, however, there is no going back to base to shop or heal until you die. It is expected that there will be a lot of deaths on both sides, so the respawn timers are fairly quick. It's highly recommended you find some friends or guildmates to try out this new game mode, but fair warning, you may cease to care about your skill tier after playing Battle Royale a few times. It's very, very fun. So let's conclude by talking about some of the balance changes in Update 1.16. Buff comps with Adagio were popular in 1.15, and I don't believe that's going to change. However, there is a change to Agent of Wrath where part of the crystal power ratio has been moved to the combo with Gift of Fire. So if you're playing Adagio with a typical roam build, you probably won't notice a difference. However, if you're playing Adagio with a crystal power build, in order to get the same damage as before, you will want to first ignite your opponents with Gift of Fire. Blackfeather is still a fairly popular hero. One of the problems, however, is that there hasn't been much incentive to put a third point in his Rose offensive. To help remedy this, charges for this ability now take longer to accumulate at ranks 1 and 2, giving players a little extra incentive to max this ability on occasion. While many people may still play Celeste, she hasn't seen much play in competitive matches for a while. Some of the following changes may help a bit. The crystal power ratio for her heroic perk is being increased by a moderate amount, making it so her basic attacks will hit harder, and also the duration of the stars from her heliogenesis has been increased by an additional second. This will allow you to have more stars on the ground at any given point in time, allowing you to zone your opponents more effectively. Glaive is seeing a quality of life improvement across the board. The middle ranks of Afterburn's cooldown are being reduced, especially on rank 4, making it so Glaive players may not always feel compelled to put a 5th point into it. Another nice improvement is that whenever Glaive dies and he comes back to life, he does so with a full 20 Bloodsong stacks. Also, his Bloodsong is seeing an increase in lifesteal at ranks 2 and 3. This may make putting a 3rd point into Bloodsong more enticing. There were a few small changes to Krull. However, the most significant change was a reduction to the size of the health barrier on Deadman's Rush. At rank 5, the barrier used to be 600 and now it's 350. This means Krull players will need to play a little more safely in the future. As a side note, you can still increase the size of the barrier with crystal power, so maybe we'll see some more crystal builds in the future. In an ongoing attempt to bring Finn in alignment with other roam heroes, he's receiving a small buff to his Quibble. More particularly, he's seeing a 10% increase to both the area size and the duration of the slower stun. This should make it easier to successfully land this ability and to make it count. Even after the increased energy cost of Twirling Silver in the previous update, Ringo continues to be a bully on the Halcyon Fold. To help balance him further, Twirling Silver is receiving a flat 10% reduction in attack speed at all ranks. The Minion Miner is seeing a slight change as well. In 1.15, the gold reward began at 80 gold at 4 minutes and gradually increased to 200 gold over the course of another 4 minutes. In 1.16, this will now be a flat 150 gold at all times. This is extra incentive to take control of Minion Miners early and often. There have also been a few notable item changes. First, Broken Myth has been changed from having a maximum of 7 stacks at 5% bonus crystal damage to 5 stacks at 7% bonus crystal damage. Ultimately, you still reach the same maximum of 35% bonus, but it should be easier and quicker to reach that damage potential. Alternating Current has been changed to have a faster attack speed but a lower crystal power ratio. This will be beneficial to heroes like Alpha, Krull, and possibly the mages like Scarf and Celeste. A final interesting change is that Flare and Fountain of Renewal will no longer be instantaneous effects. Instead, there will be a slight delay as the item travels to its intended destination. In 1.15, you can see that the second a flare gets activated, there's instant visibility of the desired area. This is very useful if you're trying to maintain vision on an opponent who just ran into a bush. However, in 1.16, you'll notice that it takes a second or two for the flare to give visibility. You'll also notice that there's a fancy new animation and sound effect to go along with it. Now do keep in mind that this is the same sort of delay that affects Fountain Renewal now, so if you have an ally who is getting low on health and you have a Fountain Renewal, you have one less second to react due to this new delay. So please forgive any Roam players who unintentionally let you die over the next few days as they recalibrate themselves. This is the end of the video preview of Update 1.16. You are encouraged to review the full update notes that are linked in the video notes below. Good luck and have fun in Update 1.16.